Hey boys, it's HarmNone. Today, we're going to be going over 10 vehicles that are very similar to police vehicles in Grand Theft Auto Online, or vehicles that you can customize to look like they are police cars in GTA Online. Now of course within online we don't actually have the ability to own or customize actual police cars, so we pretty much have to make do with the vehicles that we actually have in the game, and a lot of them are unfortunately going to have to be undercover style vehicles because we do not actually have the ability to put police markings on any of them. Anyway guys, with that being said, let's get right into the list, starting off with number 10. So guys, with number 10 I decided to go for the Insurgent. Now, you may be thinking this is a stupid choice. Well, I disagree. A lot of police departments in the world actually have an emergency response team assigned to their division, if not one very nearby. And the Insurgent kind of matches up with the overall look of a emergency response team vehicle. It's very heavily armored, you can get people in to where you need to get them, they can get their job done, and then you go back home in the big armored vehicle. So I feel like the Insurgent obviously kind of matches that description. I feel like it's pretty good for this sort of thing. Obviously, if you don't know about the Insurgent in GTA, I mean, well, first of all, wake up. Second of all, it is a absolutely menacing vehicle. If there's somebody in your way, the Insurgent will get them out of your way. Like it's absolutely nothing. This thing can throw vehicles around. It does not matter what you put in front of this thing, pretty much, it is going to move it out of the way or find a way to get past it. Overall, the Insurgent is a really good vehicle, and I feel like you get away with doing some police activities within the Insurgent that maybe you don't actually need an emergency response team. You just, kind of want to whip the Insurgent and bash some people out of the way. So overall, I feel like the Insurgent is a pretty solid vehicle for this list. However, we will be getting into some more maybe realistic police cars coming up in the list. Anyway guys, let's move on to number 9. Alright guys, next up at number 9 we have the Bravado Buffalo. Now I've got this thing set up to look kind of similar to the FIB Buffalo that you guys may have seen circulating around GTA Online a few years ago. However, if you have not seen that circulating around, there is a Buffalo in the game that is specific to the FIB, and it looks somewhat similar to this. It's an undercover vehicle, and I've done my best to replicate it here. I think most of us have probably seen a Dodge Charger police car in our lifetime. They are quite a popular car to actually make into a police car, so it only makes sense to have the Buffalo included on this list. The Buffalo is a pretty solid car, and the Dodge Charger is in real life as well, which is obviously what the Buffalo is based off of. I also thought that it was worth mentioning that I have put a police horn on this car as well, just to add to the undercover sort of police feel of the vehicle, I guess. Overall, the Buffalo is a pretty solid pick if you want to pretend that you're a cop in GTA. You could probably fool some people, especially if they've heard about the FIB Buffalo before, then this thing could maybe actually get some people. Obviously, for the undercover sort of look, you're going to want to go for a pretty basic color. I think I've gone for a dark steel or something along those lines, quite close to the top of the color choices that we have in GTA. Overall, I'm pretty impressed with this thing. I'm pretty happy with it. Let's move on to the next vehicle. Alright guys, the next vehicle on the list is the Chevelle Fugitive. If you guys saw my customization that I did the other day on this vehicle, you could have probably guessed that it was going to be on this list. Now the Fugitive is actually a really good car for this list. I feel like you could either make this thing kind of a stealthy, sort of undercover detective car like I've got mine, or of course you can set it up with a white look and you could just sort of use it as more of a basic patrol car. Either way, it is a very solid police look-alike vehicle, I feel like. Overall, the Fugitive doesn't get as much love as I feel like it should in GTA. I'd like to see this thing get a few more people driving it. And I feel like if you want to pretend to be a cop in GTA, this is a great car for you. Not to mention, on top of all that, it actually sounds really good. Not that that really matters too much for being a cop, but take a listen. Sounds pretty good, man. I really like the Fugitive. I think it is a great car, and I think that everybody should honestly own one in GTA, regardless of if you want to use it for a police look-alike vehicle. Anyway guys, that is it for number 8. Let's move on to number 7. Alright guys, next up at number 7 we have the Bravado Buffalo S. Now this thing, I feel like you can dress it up to be more like a regular police car. Obviously I have mine with a primary white with a secondary black, and of course I have these steelies on it as well, just to sort of blend in with that sort of look. Now the Buffalo S is quite a lot faster than the regular Buffalo. It's also not that much more expensive. This thing can be bought for $95,000, which is pretty darn cheap, I must say. Overall, the Buffalo S is just a much better car than the regular Buffalo. It looks better, it handles better, it's faster. There's really nothing to not like about this vehicle. You could argue that you maybe like the regular Buffalo's looks better, but I think you would probably have to be blind in order to actually think that, but the choice is of course yours. The Buffalo S is more of a car that I would recommend to somebody who wants to do a sort of marked police car build. You could sort of get away with it on this thing, I feel like, because of the secondary color options. However, it's not going to be perfect, unfortunately, which does kind of suck. I wish that we were able to actually just buy a cop car in GTA, but unfortunately, for the meantime, we got to make do like this. So overall, the Bravado Buffalo S I feel like is a pretty solid option for a police look-alike vehicle, especially for a marked one. And of course, you could go for unmarked with this thing too, and that would look great as well. Anyway guys, that's it for number 7. Let's move on to the next one. Alright guys, and next up we have the Vapid Stanier. Now this thing is definitely a really good undercover police car, maybe a detective's car even. Overall, the Stanier is as close as you can really get in GTA to actually having a police car, because it really does closely match the Blaine County police cars. I believe that the Blaine County police cars are just a newer version of the Stanier that we actually don't have access to buying, or it is just a heavily modified version of the regular Stanier like you guys can see here. Overall though, it is a great undercover police car. I've used this thing many times whenever I've been pretending to be a cop in GTA, whether it's to troll people or... Overall, this is a really good car. This is one that I would definitely recommend, especially if you are on a budget. It looks great, it performs decently well, a lot better than you would actually expect it to, and overall I feel like it is one of the more realistic ones that you can actually get your hands on, which is a really cool thing. So I definitely think that the Stanier is a very good car to have, that's for sure. Anyway guys, that is it for number 6. Let's move on to number 5. Okay guys, and the next vehicle we have is the Declassy Granger. Now the Granger, similar to the Stanier, is one of the only vehicles that we actually have a match with a real police car in GTA Online. Once you have a 4-star wanted level, the new skies will start showing up on Grangers, and overall it is just a really solid truck. It makes a great undercover police car. You can make this thing blacked out, you can do it white like I have it here. You can even change up the secondary color to be a black along the wheel wells and the lower part of the vehicle as well, if you wanted to make it more like a marked police car. Overall, the Granger is just a really solid option if you want to be a cop in GTA. This thing will get the job done very cheaply and very effectively. Now the Granger is actually a pretty decently fast SUV, especially for what it is. I believe you can get this thing for $35,000 on Southern San Andreas Super Autos, which is a bargain. Of course, that is the same place that you can find most of the vehicles on this list, like the Stanier as well, except the Stanier is even cheaper than this thing, and arguably it could maybe potentially look a little bit better than this thing depending on what your views are. However, the Granger is just a solid SUV. If you and your friends are pretending to be cops, I would definitely pick up a Granger, because you can actually have people riding on the outsides of this thing like you see the news teams do when you get a 4-star. Anyway guys, that is pretty much it for the Declassy Granger at number 5. Let's move on to car number 4. Alright guys, the next vehicle on the list is the DRE Landstalker XL. I feel like this is a pretty solid police vehicle, because I feel like it could be a replacement for the Granger if you did not want to use that. However, the Granger is $35,000 and this thing is, well, about 1.3 million. So you'd have to be pretty motivated to not want to use the Granger. However, if you really didn't want to use the Granger, the Landstalker has got you covered. The Landstalker is obviously a pretty huge SUV. It can only seat 4, whereas the Granger can actually seat 8 people. Well, I say seat, the other 4 actually hang on the outsides of the Granger, so it's not quite a seat, but close enough, I guess. The Landstalker is a pretty well-equipped vehicle. As you guys can see, it actually has a roof rack on it, and of course it's got a moon roof in case, you know, you're on a stakeout or something like that, and you know, you want to look at the stars or something like that, you know. Of course, the Landstalker XL is a lot faster than the Declassy Granger, which is a bonus that you get for the extra, well, $1.265 million, something like that. So, you know, you do get one bonus from it. I would also argue that the Landstalker XL is actually a better looking vehicle than the Granger. As much as I love the Granger, the Landstalker is just, well, It's just good looking, to be honest. I do also believe that some police departments are starting to actually use the Ford Expedition, which this thing is actually based off of, in their departments in real life. So that is another reason that this thing is actually on this list. Overall, the Landstalker XL is just a really good vehicle. I would definitely recommend picking this thing up if you guys have some extra money lying around and you want a pretty cool police vehicle. Anyway guys, that is it for number 4. Let's move on to number 3. Alright guys, the next vehicle at number 3 is the new Bravado Buffalo STX. Now I know we've had 3 Buffaloes on this list, but I do feel like they are a pretty solid police car. Obviously departments in real life seem to think so because they order them a lot. The STX is just the best looking Buffalo in the entire game by far, and I feel like it is the best representation of what a police Bravado Buffalo would actually look like in the game if the police in GTA were to use Bravado Buffaloes more often. I know the cops actually do have a Bravado Buffalo that you can occasionally see them in within the city of Los Santos. However, I feel like if Rockstar did want to add an updated model, they would probably base it off of the STX because this thing just looks solid. Overall, you could use this thing as a police interceptor style of vehicle. You could use it as a highway patrol vehicle. You can make this thing actually look a lot more like a police car too if you want to. There's actually a few tutorials on YouTube for how to do it, although I don't personally think that they look all that great. However, they are there if you guys do want to make it look more like a marked police car. Another feature about the Bravado Buffalo STX is it is actually currently the fastest vehicle in the muscle cars category in GTA. So not only could you make a really cool looking look-alike police car in GTA, you can also take this thing into muscle car class races and absolutely destroy everybody. So overall, the STX is totally worth it, I would say. It does cost a fair bit of money, I think it's about $1.6 million. However, it is pretty worth it in my opinion. Anyway guys, that is it for number 3. Let's move on to number 2. Alright guys, so at number 2 we have the RCV. This is the only purchasable police vehicle in Grand Theft Auto Online. It also actually has sirens equipped. You can turn the lights and sirens on with this thing and actually pull vehicles over if you so choose, which is a great feature. Like I said, it is the only vehicle in the game that you can really do that with. Anyways, on top of that, the RCV is a absolutely fantastic vehicle. It can seat 4 people up front, and you do have access to a water cannon as the driver, so you can disperse crowds accordingly. RCV does of course stand for Riot Control Van, so this thing is designed for riot dispersing, which I could see it doing a pretty good job of actually. The RCV does actually hold 6 players as well. I would assume the other 2 players, other than the 4 up front, sit on these platforms right here and hang on to these rails that are mounted to the side of the vehicle. Now the RCV is of course a pretty large vehicle, which also means that it is unfortunately pretty slow, which does kind of suck. However, it is still a very cool vehicle because of course you can turn the lights and sirens off. And as you can see, as I drive past these vehicles, they will stop and pull over to the side of the road, which is really cool. That is definitely this thing's strongest feature out of everything else. Of course, it has the water cannon, which I can demonstrate here for you guys. Of course, let's disperse this guy. I think, oh my gosh, that actually looks like it hurts. As you can see, the RCV can do some damage if you need it to, which is a pretty cool feature. I wish that we had another vehicle in GTA that also had these sirens like this thing has. However, unfortunately, we just don't. But as you can see, other vehicles do pull over for you very effectively. And even if I get out, I'm pretty sure, okay, well, actually, never mind. Completely never mind. They do not listen to you whatsoever. Anyway, guys, the RCV is a great police vehicle in GTA. If you're into the whole police thing, I would definitely recommend picking up an RCV because of course you can use it with the lights and sirens to actually pull over vehicles on the road. Obviously it's not completely ideal, being that it's, well, a huge truck, not like a Suburban or something like that, or just a regular police car. It is still pretty darn cool, I have to say. Anyway guys, that is it for number 2. Let's move on to number 1. Alright guys, and at number 1 we have the brand new DeClasse Granger 3600 LX. This thing is absolutely awesome. It looks pretty much as close as I feel like you can get to a police car in Grand Theft Auto Online. We have the bull bar on the front of this thing. We have the light bar on the roof. If you take off the roof rack as well, that could maybe be mistaken for a police light bar as well. Obviously, we have the police spec steelies on this thing as well. Overall, I mean, it just looks like a police SUV. I can literally think of a police car in my town that looks so similar to this thing without the roof rack and without the snorkel on it. It's actually pretty crazy. I'm so glad that Rockstar added this to the game. You guys have got to check this thing out. This is a absolute must-have if you want a look-alike police car in Grand Theft Auto Online. Anyway guys, there you have it. Those have been 10 very realistic look-alike police cars in Grand Theft Auto Online. If you guys enjoyed this video, if you want to see more like this, leave a like, if not dislike, subscribe if you guys are new, and I will see you all in the next video. Until then, take care. Peace.